Hello walls! Today I'm gonna talk about all the books I've read in February. I was about to say January, but no, February. I already forgot how many I've read, so my GoodReads friends will tell me how many books I've read. So yeah, I've read 11 books. First I'm gonna start with the book that was sent to me by the author, so thank you so much. Scrapbook of an Unfound Songstress by Vicky Nolan. So I know you like, it looks like a contemporary kind of thing. Yes, it is actually, but it is a non-fiction. This is her true story. So she was 15 years old when she wanted to be a pop star. So she had one day the opportunity to fly to Copenhagen to record some music, etc. And that's just gonna be the start of her career as a teenager, and something bad's gonna happen and her family and herself are going to be sued by an ex-manager kind of thing. So you're gonna see, I mean, you're gonna read about her story and going through all that. I loved it. Surprisingly, I loved it. When I got the book, I told her that it didn't sound like my type of books, but that I was willing to try, just because I was curious about the fact that it was actually real. It was her true story. I loved the way it was told. It was really easy to read. It felt like talking to a friend or listening to a friend talking about, I mean, telling a story or whatever. It was that feeling, and it was easy, really easy to read. I enjoyed it. I found it like, I gave it 4 stars, not 5, just because I wanted to know more about that trial, because I still have some questions. It's not focused on romance kind of thing, so it's really like a nice story, and I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly good, so I gave it 4 stars. I mean, surprisingly good. Not surprisingly good because of the book, but surprisingly good because I liked it. But I'm happy I did. And yeah, so if you love contemporary non-fiction kind of thing, it's very short, so it was a very cute story and I loved reading it. I read it in one sitting. It's a little less than 200 pages, but still I was like sucked into the world, I mean into her story. So yeah, then I'm gonna tell you all the ebooks I listened to. So ebooks I listened to, the first one was The Silver Chair, so the book number 4 in the Chronicles of Narnia, 5 stars. And then I listened to The Horse and His Boy, Chronicles of Narnia, and the other one, the last one, was The Magician's Nephew, so 5 stars as well, and the other one 5 stars as well. So I've listened to 3 books of the Chronicles of Narnia. I still have one left, The Last Battle, and then I will be done with my reread of Narnia. So 5 stars, just because 5 stars, like, this is Narnia, you cannot give it less than, I mean, you can give it less, but I will never, because that series has a special place in my heart, and I keep saying that, but this is so true, so I will never give it less than 5 stars. And I also listened to Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I really love that story. I watched the anime, I mean not the anime, but you know, the cartoon-ish kind of thing, animated thing, and I gave it 4 stars. Maybe I enjoyed it less because it was an audiobook and not the real book, and that's why it wasn't 5 stars, but I think that Neil Gaiman has better work than Coraline. But Coraline is such a love story. I mean, it's such a love story. It's such a beautiful story. I really love that story, and I love the animation kind of thing, etc, etc. And you know, Neil Gaiman is my god, so yeah. I feel like I'm very chill for this video, like just talking, and yeah, never mind. Let me know if you mind it. Then I've read the ebook version of Children of Blood and Bone by Tomie Adeyemi. I gave it 3 stars. I'm not gonna say it was bad or anything, because 3 stars is still good, but I feel like something was missing for me. I loved the world building kind of thing, but something was missing. I still don't know how I feel about the characters. I was at the beginning, okay, I like them, but I think I loved more the other characters than the main character. So basically this is a story of a girl who wants her people's magic back because the main king, blah blah blah, destroyed that magic from that world and doesn't allow her people to have that magic. and even if they were not especially using it against him, he wasn't feeling comfortable around magic but not having magic, if that makes any sense. So she's gonna go and try her best to get that magic back, because actually he keeps rising, you know, the taxes that I have to pay, etc., and it's just like not livable anymore. So it was like a good story, but I felt like it was very tropey and very YA and very cliche, and I know lots of people read it and loved it, and I'm not saying it's a bad book. I just feel that something was missing for me, and I don't honestly know what, because I've read it in no times, like in less than 2 days, I think. So maybe that's why, because I've read it too fast. That also could be possible, I don't know. I will still be reading the sequel that's coming out in June, I believe. So yes, that was our first book for the Howling Pack. So yeah, thank you to all the wolves who joined the Howling Pack for the first time. I've read that book with me. It was such a nice experience, so thank you, I love you. Then I know during the whole month of February the booktube games, yeah, booktube games was going on, but also the Peloton was hosted by Jade from Jade Reads, and for that I've read like 3 books. The first one was In an Opsin Dream by Shannon Maguire. You know my love for the Wayward Children trilogy series, and this was a 5 stars. Honestly, I think this was my favorite. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that book. I loved it so much. I felt so much reading that book. I was like angry and happy and about to cry and whatever. I don't know how come I loved it so much. Lundi's story, so we're gonna follow Lundi's story. So Lundi is one of the teachers in that special school, and we're gonna read her story, what happened to her. And the end was just, I was not okay with that. I loved it. It was a 5 stars for me, but I wasn't okay with that ending. So beautiful, 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 but not okay. So next for the Peloton, I've read The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. 5 stars, 5 stars. It was magical. It was magical. I was like in that world, and I just didn't want to leave that world, and it was just insane. It was so immersive and atmospheric, etc., etc. It's about like the ambience, I mean, with the woods and the forests and little animals and the magic in it and the folklore, you know, the Russian folklore and all the stories and the tales, etc. I grew up with some of the stories in that book, and I was just like, it touched me obviously, but I loved it. The way it is written, it's just like beautiful, powerful, lyrical, whatever you want to say. I loved it so much. I really cannot wait to dive into the second book. So The Girl in the Tower, I still need to read a few books before I can start that one, but oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. I fell in love with that world, and I fell in love with, I don't know, I've always loved snowy settings, wintry settings kind of thing, and Russian folklore, but I don't know why I never thought about reading about those themes, you know what I mean? So yeah, and floppy paperback, it's like just brilliant. I love that story, I love that story, I love that story. It's about Vasya. She has some kind of gifts, but she's hiding them because, you know, something could happen. You know, sometimes when you have gifts, you seen, like, people will consider you a witch and they will try to kill you and burn you, blah 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 blah. But this is so much more than that. This has some kind of family in it. If I have to be fair, Russian stories, Russian folklores have some issues, I agree, with nowadays society. So you have to be okay with the fact that you're gonna read about girls who are only being raised to become mother, and boys who really care about money and being like the best and the strongest, etc., etc. It's kind of cliche, it's kind of like meh, but it is Russian folklore, and it's so much more than that, and I really recommend that book to everyone, like everyone. It was so magical, one of my favorite books so far of 2019. And another book I fell in love with is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. So this is a story of Kamsin, and Kamsin actually wants to become an explorer, the elite, the best one, etc. But she cannot because she She cannot be that person, but something's gonna change, something's gonna happen, and she's gonna have to go on that adventure. And lots of stuff happen, and it's about family and friendship and betrayals and secrets, etc, etc. And I really love that book. I was sucked into that story. Like, that was insane. I started that book and I think I finished like in 1 or 2 days, maybe in one sitting or whatever, and it's like almost 400 pages. But I loved the setting, I loved the way it was written, I loved the atmosphere, I loved the world building, I loved the characters. So yeah, let me know if you read that book. Then I buddy read this book, So Fire and Ice by Sarah Beth with Catarina from Catarina the Bookworm, and honestly I was a bit disappointed. I gave it, I think, let me check, 3 or 2 stars. So yeah, GoodReads tells me that I gave it 2 stars just because it was like, okay, it was cute, okay, it was funny, okay, it was easy to read, but nothing, like, I didn't feel anything. All that book was like, I don't know, it was way too easy. Like, everything was happening, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel bad, I didn't feel stressed, I didn't feel scared, I didn't feel like nervous or whatever. It was just way too easy for me. Like, so if you want a short summary of it, Sky can turn into a dragon, and her family as well, because they're actually coming from another world that's called home. It's all about having gold, because it's logical. Like, dragons can, you know, they love gold and they love like treasures, etc, etc. And something's gonna happen, they're gonna lose all their wealth kind of thing, and she wants it back because of something, because her mom disappeared, her boyfriend broke up with her because of some other stuff, etc, etc. So it was like, it had so much potential for me, but it missed so many things. I love the family part of it though, because usually the main character doesn't have a family or hate her family, and I'm saying her just to make it easier and not say her, he's there or whatever. Yeah, no, it wasn't for me. Like, we both feel the same way about that book, so that's okay. But I also follow people who love that book, and I'm absolutely fine with that. If you loved it, good for you. Then I've read King of Scars. I gave it 3 stars on GoodReads, but it is actually a 2.5. Please don't hate me. I loved reading about the characters again. I loved reading about that world again, but the plot, like, where was the plot? Like, I didn't feel anything reading that. Like, just Nikolai wasn't Nikolai anymore, Nina was Nina, but still something was missing. She was like, okay, she's mourning, but something was off. And the other characters, like, I loved reading about Zoya, etc, etc, but I really don't know. I hope the sequel will be better, but I love the characters. Like, I really do love the characters. I loved the writing style. As usual, it's Lee Bardugo, so she does good stuff, but I feel like, no, it wasn't that good. So far, Six of Crows is my favorite, so yeah. So well, that's it for my wrap-up. I think I did good, like in January as well, which is super weird because last year I was like reading sometimes 0 book in a month, then 4 books, 3 books, 2 books, sometimes 15, whatever, but not really often. And this year I started really well, but I think that's because I listened to quite a few audiobooks, which always helps, to be honest. So yeah. But yeah, let me know how many books you've read in February. Not that it matters, but so we can chat about it. And if you've read any of the books I've read, please let me know how you rated them, because I would be curious about like King of Scars, obviously, because everyone seems to have read that book and I want to know how you felt about it, because I'm disappointed. Like, I don't know. But yeah, well, thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to be a part of the pack. And talk to me in the comments as usual. So wolves, till next time, take care. Bye.